Hello everyone, and welcome to my beginner's guide for Enter the Gungeon. Most new Gungeoneers will have completed Sir Manuel's tutorial, where he will teach you the basics of the game, including dodge rolling, where he will fire a line of bullets at you and expect you to dodge over them to get to the other side of a room. Now, while this teaches you the basic minimum to survive, we're going to go over some of the reasons why you will want to hold off on dodge rolling, and where you should be looking while firing your guns. Dodge rolling itself is a very powerful mechanic. From the moment you press the button to begin rolling, you become invulnerable until a moment after you land. The invulnerability period actually lasts longer than you would believe, and that invulnerability can be quite useful in some instances. However, the developers understand this and have added several mechanics to the game to make dodge rolling sometimes dangerous, especially to new players. Anyone attempting to use dodge roll as their primary source of evasion will find themselves getting chipped down very fast and maybe only make it a few floors into the gungeon. This is because there are several enemies with tracking mechanics. They will fire where they believe you will be in a straight line, and you will sometimes dodge roll into those bullets. There's also enemies that fire multiple times, either rapid fire or several spreads back to back, and they will hit you if you try to dodge roll directly through them. And as you progress further into the gungeon, the rooms will become more complicated. There will be enemies that fire multiple shots, there will be spread fire enemies, there will be tracking enemies, there will be even redirecting bullets that will challenge even the toughest of gungeoneers. The easiest method to learn how to counteract all of these mechanics is to hold off on dodge rolling until absolutely necessary. The game comes with several methods to avoid bullets beyond dodge rolling. Explosives will detonate any projectiles in the area, there are multitudes of tables, and there are also cubby holes and walls that you can hide behind. Each and every room's generation can have a different method to completing it. Sometimes it will be more efficient to dodge roll, sometimes it's best to hide behind a table, and sometimes it's just best to hide out behind a wall. Understanding what's best will come with experience. However, I highly recommend hiding and moving around more so than attempting to dodge roll through every situation. Look at opponents and see, is this enemy a tracking opponent? What will he do if I attempt to dodge roll? Also look at spread shots and see if you can weave between the patterns instead of simply dodge rolling over it, as you are vulnerable upon landing. Instead of dodge rolling directly over a projectile, attempt to dodge on either an angle or directly to the left and right, never directly away from the projectile, as you are simply just traveling in a straight line and letting the projectile catch up to you. When jumping to the left or right, it may be a little harder to time. However, you will not be moving towards an enemy who may be firing an extra set of rounds while you're still in flight. This gives you the most time possible to get out of the way after landing before the next set of projectiles. While the invulnerability is quite strong, the developers understand this and have put in enemies to compensate for the invulnerability period. Many bosses as well come with patterns where you can weave between the bullets. Dodge rolling as soon as the situation gets tough may get you hit and lose your chance at getting a master round, which will directly impact your chance of succeeding in the run. Be patient with dodge rolling. Even though you may have to internalize that dodge rolling is a mechanic, overusing the mechanic may slow down your ability to internalize what you should do in each individual situation. So I strongly recommend that new players use dodge rolling with trepidation. Understand your opponent's weaknesses first and then dodge roll accordingly. Keep in mind as well the color of the projectile. White projectiles maintain their course, while glowing projectiles bend the rules a little. They wiggle around or alternate their course. There's also the tricky mechanic of splitting your focus. Not only do you have to focus on your character, but there's also what bullets are coming in and managing your accuracy, thus conserving ammunition. The best advice possible for this conundrum is to not focus on accuracy at all, or at least very little. And the reason for this is that enemies actually have a very simplistic movement pattern to compensate for the bullet hellish mechanics and the dodge rolling mechanic. So enemies generally move directly towards your character in the most linear fashion possible. Now there are some enemies that will move in darting fashions and teleport around. However, they usually stand still for several seconds afterwards, giving you a moment of vulnerability. Simply firing at their general location or in a direct path between yourself and your opponent will allow you to focus more on moving yourself around, moving through bullets, and potentially dodge rolling if things get tough. This is possibly most true against the Iron Maiden enemy, as new players will have the most problem against him. The Iron Maiden does not move at all unless it is not firing, and then it only moves a small amount. It generally fires a few waves of bullets that stop, then redirect towards the player's current location, and fire directly towards the player. Any player focusing directly on the Iron Maiden instead of themselves may get hit by the redirecting bullets or as they exit the Iron Maiden. But if you focus solely on yourself and just keep your cursor in the general vicinity of the Iron Maiden, this will not be a problem, and this is true of almost every enemy and boss. Now there's one last piece of advice I have that should help out with understanding the game at a basic level, and that is holding your ground. If you move around a room very fast, enemies that track you will not only cut off your movement, but enemies that fire directly at you will cut off your retreat, as the previous area you were will be filled with bullets, so you will be forced to dodge. If you hold your ground for a small amount of time before moving, you can guarantee that where you are moving to will be bullet free, as the enemies who are trying to predict where you're going to move are going to fire directly at you as you are not moving or you are moving at an angle. This is very important when trying to avoid damage in particular, as you will be able to maximize the area of the room. You're only using up small portions of the room at a time, and bullets will not be firing where you want to go. The quickest way to be the most effective gungeoneer is not to jump the gun, but instead to hold your roll. By understanding the limitations of your invulnerability and which enemies are attempting to track you, you can survive and mitigate the amount of damage you take, and it will help you get further. As you internalize the threat of each individual room and the enemies within them, you will get chipped less and less, which will let you get further into the game, and at that point you can focus on more advanced mechanics like efficiently using your ammunition, keys, and currency, and specific boss strategies, which I will be covering more in my advanced guide, as I believe that the base mechanics are what's important and what the player needs to focus on. That is what I talked about here, and I will be making an intermediate and advanced guide pretty soon. If you like this video, please hit me up with a like or potentially a subscribe, as it helps me understand if I should make more videos or not, if people enjoy this type of content. And I'll see you next time. Peace.